Tom Moore has always been more than just a reality TV star, he's a living legend of the wilderness, a man who built his life where most wouldn't dare to survive. But with legends come whispers, and over the years, rumors have swirled around Tom Moore. Some painted him as a hero of the old frontier spirit, others told darker tales. And when Tom suddenly vanished from mountain men, the speculation reached its peak. Many feared the worst, that he was gone forever. But the truth about Tom Moore is far more fascinating than the rumors, and it's a story you need to hear. Unknown to many, Tom Moore's disappearance from mountain men was not caused by death, but by shadows of secrets and struggles that few could imagine. Over the years, whispers and speculations surrounded his absence, fueling both fear and fascination. Some believed the legend of the wilderness had finally reached its end, while others sensed there was more to the story. In this video, we uncover the darker truths behind Tom Moore's life and his mysterious disappearance, secrets that reveal the man behind the myth, and why his journey has captivated millions who continue to wonder about his fate. Before we dive into those struggles and secrets, we must first understand the man himself. Tom Moore, alongside his beloved wife Nancy, carved out a life in the isolated Yak River Valley of northwestern Montana. With no luxuries and little more than determination, the couple built their existence from the land itself. Surviving on the edge of civilization, Tom relied on a nearly forgotten craft, brain tanning, to earn a living, turning hides into clothing and tools the old way. Their story is one of grit, love, and survival against all odds, a living reminder of a vanishing way of life that few could endure, and even fewer could master. Although this craft wasn't highly valued by many, Tom mastered it. He is an expert trapper and tanner. But that's not the end of it. Tom was incredibly steadfast and determined to endure through all seasons. He could pursue his craft regardless of the harsh conditions of the seasons and forests. He refined his skills and improved continuously. Records indicate that he could develop his talent to a level reached by only a select few before him. Observing Tom at work is like catching a glimpse of a bygone era. In jest, Tom once remarked, "I was born 100 years too late, or perhaps 200 years too late." What made Tom so enamored with the wild lifestyle? Well, it can be traced back to his upbringing. He grew up in the countryside near Rockford, Illinois. Tom has always felt that he was destined for a rugged way of life. During his childhood, he and his brother shared a deep love for the outdoors. For them, it was something inherent. Tom also shared more insights, revealing that he and his brother spent their youth exploring freely whenever they could. They were often seen riding. "My father was an exceptional horseman, and he passed that skill down to my brother and me. He remembers, when my brother and I turned 7, our father taught us how to trick ride, which involves performing tricks on the back of a galloping horse. It was risky, but Tom was undeterred and pressed on. Despite the dangers, he thrived and quickly developed a taste for living life on the edge. At the age of 15, he continued to seek out new experiences. As a young thrill-seeker, he found a new way to satisfy his adrenaline cravings, rodeo. My mother would drive me to the outskirts of town, drop me off with my bull rope and rigging bag, and I would hitchhike to Ohio to join in riding bulls and bucking horses." Whenever Tom spoke of his mother, his eyes would light up. Tom claims that his mother's faith in him was very beneficial to him. Her confidence in him propelled him toward the horizon's warm glow of adventure, which he pursued with his usual composure and tenacity. He became a champion rider and rose through the ranks of the International Rodeo Association by the early 1960s. But that's not all. Additionally, Tom thrived on the thrill of the sport and repeatedly advanced to the finals, placing in the top 10 each time. On Valentine's Day in 1970, Tom's life took a turn for the better and he was blessed. He was already 35 years old that year when he ended up in the chute atop a huge bull named Woolly Bugger. According to Tom, "I typically dropped a finger in my bull rope, indicating that your hand was trapped into the rope. There was a huge eruption as soon as the chute opened. The skulls of man and animal struck each other instantly, knocking Tom out cold. Firmly restrained by the bull's back roll across the center. Tom was stuck to the flailing animal by his hand. My legs and other belongings are now beneath his back legs. He is really stepping on me and bucking. Tom later acknowledges that the entire potentially fatal incident was the closest he has ever been near death in a rodeo arena. For 2 torturous minutes, his wife watched in agony from the stands as he was flung violently until the ropes that held him were eventually severed. It took 3 hours for Tom to regain consciousness after leaving the arena on a stretcher. He was bruised over most of his body and had sustained a serious concussion. Unfortunately, the bull's future was bleaker than expected. With a cowboy's gleam in his eye, Tom attests to the fact that they informed him that the old woolly bugger died 2 weeks later. I believe I also caused him to have a concussion. Tom went back to the shooting grounds a month after his near-death encounter. Unfortunately, he never achieved the success he once had. I decided it was time to give up. He later retired from rodeo in 1981. And just as a young man seeking excitement is nourished by the pitch and yaw of a bronc, a guy seeking tranquility is nourished by the ascent and descent of a mountain. In the summer, Nancy and I would travel to Montana to go rodeoing. He claims that as Tom developed an attraction to the Wild West, their lives gradually faced new difficulties. He placed all of their belongings into an old pickup truck with the Navy. They then took off and moved to new locales. It's interesting to note that the truck they used to start their lives in Montana was purchased with proceeds from the sale of muskrat pelts. This served as a small preview of what the Orr's future held. I just had a gut feeling that I could succeed, even though we had no idea what we were entering into or how I would earn a living out here. I'm capable of finishing it. And they did. Tom and Nancy lived off the land in every sense of the word, hunting, trapping, and tanning via old-fashioned hard work. However, the initial years were difficult. According to Tom, it was chilly during our first winter here. After moving, they frequently had to deal with the idea of moving again. Before leaving Illinois in the 1980s, Tom had worked as a trapper, but he had no idea how to make a livelihood doing it. He was skilled with the furs, but turning them into cash was a more difficult task until destiny stepped in at an Indian store in Billings. Tom explains, "We just stopped and went in. Then it appeared in black and white. It described the brown brains of the Indians." That was the first time Tom had ever encountered the ancient way, and it was this method that put him on a very different and surprising course in life. He paid $3 for the book. But it included 16 pages that immediately improved his writing. He also revealed that he needed a little more luck to make tanning a successful business. They referred to them as black powder rendezvous. According to Tom, they reproduced the era of the fur trade in the Rocky Mountains, when trappers would congregate in one location. When he was in the highlands, he fit right in with the group of mountain guys. He gradually found a market for his handcrafted goods. Tom also does things well when he does them. Brain-tanned buckskin clothing is the most prestigious attire you could wear at one of these rendezvous, he explains. As soon as Tom began selling his furs, customers realized how superior the brain-tanned hides he offered were. They hurried the skins after realizing this, which allowed him to sell at an impressive rate. Tom was at ease after he gradually found it. They overcame all obstacles along with his wife. Remaining in Montana entailed risk and trouble. The brutal cold of Montana winter weighed down on them, danger loomed, and loneliness mocked. However, they survived and thrived. And they refused to let their troubles affect them. Tom was always a humble and compassionate man who welcomed everyone who came into contact with him, including fans, fellow trappers, and others. A man who was not afraid to share his smile, his craft, and his tale. Everyone knew Tom's story, even though he was unable to communicate with the outside world because of poor cell phone and internet access. Tom usually shrugged his shoulders when asked how he handled the constant flow of people that trekked to his land every summer, admitting that he would rather have people like him dislike him. He is 76 years old and still works tirelessly at his profession and mountain survival. He thinks it's an amazing existence. I've thoroughly liked it, and I plan to continue doing it for as long as I can. Tom's life continued to appear lovely and charming until he made the audacious decision to join the Mountain Men cast in 2012, the year the program debuted. Tom's appearance on the broadcast undoubtedly raised its viewership. People adored him. Tom emerged as one of the show's most recognizable characters throughout the course of the 13 seasons. But that's not all. They all want to see his face. His participation on the show emphasized deeper themes of resiliency, traditional craftsmanship, and family values in addition to the everyday genuine off-the-land life in Montana's untamed Yak River Valley. Tom's steadfast resolve on the broadcast gradually drew in viewers. Many people were curious to learn more about him because of his capacity to lead an independent existence in spite of aging health issues and the changing modern world. But that's not all. Tom's life adventure represented the resilient nature of American frontiersmen, together with his wife Nancy and their devoted hunting hounds. Tom's business and artistry sparked increased attention in him. It was one thing to watch a mountain man on television, but it was quite another to witness a mountain man who took his art seriously. Tom Orer rose to fame for his superb handcrafted buckskin products manufactured with age-old brain tanning methods, which are becoming less and less common in today's world. Additionally, he gained the respect of other craftspeople and devoted clientele from his leather goods, which included shirts, jackets, moccasins, and purses. Despite his unflattering appearance, Tom was a man who loved what he did and always gave his customers the best. In addition to selling their wares, Tom and Nancy run a trading station where they interact with both residents and tourists. They frequently talked about their experiences, difficulties, and how they arrived at their current position at the trading station. They were happy to provide genuine frontier craftsmanship as well. Tom also made time to instruct the next generations and aficionados in traditional wilderness and trapping techniques. He took care to impart information that might benefit others. His greatest wish is for the next generation to become proficient in the art. The disappearance. Tom Moore made the decision to permanently leave his cabin after more than 40 years of living in the Montana highlands. This occurred in Mountain Men Season 11's 4th episode. Tom began to have major health issues during the episode. He needed a break, even if he would have loved to stay on the show. For several weeks, his health problems persisted, which had an impact on his output. Tom, a former rodeo cowboy who enjoys hard work, was forced to take a rest. His life was completely upended by the news of his declining health. For Tom, stopping all of his activities was the same as passing away. However, he wasn't prepared to lose easily. To get the issue checked out, he and his wife Nancy made the perilous 80-mile journey into Libby. To keep Tom going, they sought every possible possibility. Let's take a closer look at his health problems. In Season 11, Episode 4, Heart and Soul, Tom, who was still a cast member of Mountain Men, woke up abruptly from his slumber and was unable to breathe. Everyone was afraid. Nancy recommended looking into the issue after they noticed the changes, and Tom accepted her suggestion. She was aware of how severe the issue was, and she wasn't yet prepared to lose her spouse. According to Tom, "I've never had any health problems." Sadly, reality had other ideas. "I've always been very healthy all my life." Tom had a medical examination and was put through a battery of tests. Cardiologists found that fluid was accumulating in Tom's lungs and that his heart wasn't working properly after he underwent a battery of tests. They therefore advised him to wear a heart rate monitor and started him on medicine to assist strengthen his heart. His condition was supposed to be tracked by the monitor. The cardiologists recommended Tom to wear a defibrillator vest in case of an emergency because the closest health clinic was 80 miles away from Tom and NY's cabin. Tom was happy that he had lived a full life. He stated throughout the process that he was also resolved to keep living life to the fullest and that, "I'll be pushing 80 here pretty soon." Later, as he checks his bobcat traps and heads into town with Nancy, Tom considers his life. After numerous near-death experiences, Tom realized that life was short and he said, "I mean, we're all going to die sometime, you know, so you might as well try to enjoy what you've got left of it." In the final scene of the 4th episode, Tom and Nancy enter the Libby, Montana, health center to get Tom's formal diagnosis. Since the diagnosis would establish whether Tom's medication was effective or if surgery was necessary, it was going to be a difficult time for him. Nancy later acknowledged this cardiac issue. For him, this is an entirely different perspective on life. Since Tom's health started to deteriorate, she says, their entire routine has also shifted. For Tom's sake, they had to make certain adjustments as a married couple. Tom was unable to carry out the duties he had done for decades. Nancy, his wife, was willing to help him and take over, but she honestly admitted that she hoped her husband's appointment would work out well and that they could carry on with their lives as they had. During the previous 4 decades, Tom let everyone know that he loved Nancy. Unlike other rumors that he had died, Tom's health problems were the reason he disappeared from the show. His absence sparked a lot of curiosity in him. The press wanted to hear from him. When Tom had an interview, they finally got a chance. He was questioned about relocating to Montana throughout the interview. Nancy and I are from northern Illinois, and we knew some people who moved to Troy, Montana. We stayed with those people when we came out here to the rodeo in the summer. At one point in our lives, we decided that most of the rodeoing was done, and we wanted to move to Montana and build a log house, Tom replied. So, when we got to Illinois, we bought a chainsaw to build a house, and we bought an acre and a half with a small 2-room log cabin on it, and we lived there while we built the house, which took 5 years, and we've been here for 34 years. That's intriguing. That's not all. Speaking candidly about his rodeo experiences, Tom said, I suppose I was born 150 or 200 years too late. History and the past were always on my mind. In a manner, I've relived it in the present. In the Rocky Mountains, I have a beaver trapped. I was also somewhat relegated to the past by my rodeo career. The traders and trappers also fascinated Tom. Furthermore, it was clear from his conversation that his experience on Mountain Men was about more than just making money. He cherished his time there. He also disclosed who he regarded as his heroes during the interview. Jim Bridger and Joe Meek, of course. Those men were difficult, but I can't say I had a favorite. Their journey was extraordinary. Smith, Jediah, Lefty. In order to trap beavers, Lewis traveled to the West Coast and into Oregon and Washington. Perhaps, though, he preferred to explore. The individuals who invented the fur trade settled in the West. They served as army scouts and demonstrated to the settlers how to cross the mountains. I suppose it's a lost past. He was also frequently questioned about his craft. We see you working on TV, but tell me more about your craft, the interviewer asked. The things we do are outdated, Tom retorted. I tan animal brain the way the Indians did 200 years ago. Brain tan buckskin is better than any commercial products made today, it's a completely different thing. It's tanned with an animal brain, which is more like cloth than leather, and it's comfortable to wear because you can blow through it if you put it to your lips. He was asked about his exposure to sunlight, and his response will surprise you, I've got a pronghorn skin out there that I'm tanning. The moccasins breathe to keep your feet from getting overheated, and body perspiration evaporates through it to keep you cool. It's impressive stuff to wear. So far, the show hasn't really changed me. I do receive more orders than I've ever had before, but I couldn't keep up with all of our business in the last year. We don't use a sewing machine, everything we make, like a jacket or a pair of buckskin pants, is done by hand. For many people, becoming famous meant that everything changed. However, things were different with Tom, who went on to say, we typically attend 1 or 2 rendezvous a year, and prior to that, I'm working extremely hard to have my buckskin tan so that I can attend the rendezvous and earn $3,000 or $4,000. Even though I'm now paid for the show, which relieves some of the strain, I still enjoy getting tanned. It gives me a sense of accomplishment to see what I can do with my hands. Mountain Men and its cast members from their position at the top of the food chain. Hello. After Tom Armour mentioned the Mountain Men, should we also look into Let's Go? Mountain Men is an American reality television series that debuted on the History Channel on May 31, 2012. In addition to Tom, our other cast members have worked hard to make the show a success. One of them is Eustace Conway, who lives on Turtle Island, a piece of land in North Carolina's Blue Ridge Mountains, where he hosts guests and teaches them the fundamentals of wilderness survival. Eustace also makes money by harvesting firewood using traditional methods. Many people loved the show more after watching his scenes. Eustace became more well-known after he had to battle a lien that threatened his land. He fought to keep his land, and his bravery and boldness won him the affection of many. In addition, his friend Preston Roberts was a regular guest on the show. Another cast member is Marty Mayer Roto, who lives with his wife Dominique and daughter Noah in the small Alaskan town of Two Rivers. Once a month, Marty takes his Piper Super Cub plane with Tundra tires to his cabin on the Dranjik River in the Alaska North Slope, where he frequently uses a snowmobile to tend to his animal traps, which he uses to gather furs. Another intriguing character on the show is Rich Lewis, a mountain hunter who lives with his wife Diane in Montana's Ruby Valley and who, with the aid of a team of hounds, pursues his passion for tracking mountain lions and mountain men. In Season 6, Rich also stated that he was growing too old to continue this activity. The cast included fur trapper George Micho, who camps along the Snake River and Teton Range in Idaho, and another fur trapper, Charlie Tucker, who lives close to the Great North Woods in Ashland, Maine. Rich did not return for Season 7, but many people remembered his role. He frequently collaborates with Jim Diond. Another member of the team was Kyle Bell, a game hunter and outfitter by profession who operates his hunts across 45,000 acres of untamed terrain and lives in the Cimarron Valley of New Mexico with his 10-year-old son Ben. Morgan Beasley, who resides in the Alaska Range with his partner Margaret Stern, is also a licensed bush pilot. The show benefited greatly from the expertise and reputation of Jason Hawk, who lived with his family in the Ozarks in Arkansas and owned Jason Hawk's Outlaw Forge Works. Preston Roberts also made an appearance on the show, but sadly, he died before the show's conclusion on July 24, 2017, at the age of 60, from complications related to cancer. The show had to go on despite the painful loss of his son, Joseph Roberts, who replaced him and appeared in numerous episodes throughout the seasons. In addition to Mike Horseman, who was also a part of the show, Jake Herrick, a mountain lion hunter, also lives in Montana's Tobacco Route Mountains. The show featured bear hunting guide Mike, who lives on Kodiak Island in Alaska with his dog, Adele, Josh Kirk, a game hunter and ranch manager, who lives in Wyoming's Wind River Range with his wife Bonnie and their daughter Eden, and finally, the Urun brothers, Kid and Harry. They both worked as professional cattle ranchers and game hunters in the Sawtooth Wilderness in Idaho. Let's take a look at the episodes. The TV series began in the Appalachian Mountains of North Carolina, where Eustace Conway has lived for over 30 years. He makes a living by selling firewood and subsisting on the resources of the land, but that's not all. In the episode, Tom's home was revealed, and he was shown living in the Yak River Valley of northwest Montana with his wife, Nancy, and their German short-haired pointer, Ellie. Eustace also has a small crew of workers helping him on his 1,000-acre property, including Justin McGuire, a tough city boy, Chloe, a college student, and Jesse, who finds it difficult to adapt to outdoor living. The episode also features Marty Maioreto, who lives in the small Alaskan town of Two Rivers with his wife Dominique and young daughter Noah. Tom is good friends with their neighbor Will, who he first met while riding a Bronco. Tom and Will are frequently spotted hunting for deer but are unable to catch one. By Season 2, Eustace was already dealing with a lot of issues. One of his workers, Justin McGuire, keeps disappointing him, which affected him for a while, and Eustace receives a letter stating that his land will be taken away in weeks for not paying taxes. Marty flies his small bush plane to his small isolated log cabin 200 from home to run his trap line. The furs provide a small income to help his family throughout the year. Additionally, in Montana, Tom Orr was observed having difficulty locating meat. When his neighbor Tim asked him for assistance in removing a couple of beavers from his drinking water, Tom immediately jumped into action and managed to trap 2 beavers, giving him some meat for the winter. Additionally, Marty has arrived at his cabin in the Alaskan wilderness and is getting ready for the trapping season. After accumulating water, Marty heads out to test his trap, but reveals it generally empty. In the course of that procedure, his snow machine breaks down, forcing him to maintain the relaxation of the journey, taking walks. In Season 3, Tom Moore's challenges persevered. He continuously struggles to offer meat and furs for the iciness. Tom's neighbor Tim takes him on a duck hunt down the Sinai River. In North Carolina, Eustace is also seen struggling to address his issues. He nonetheless had to deal with the tilt on his 1,000-acre property. And after weeks of underperforming and clashing with everyone at Turtle Island, Eustace had no desire but to fireplace Justin. Later in Alaska, Marty replaces the malfunctioning engine in his snow machine, but snaps his steering column and has to go back to the cabin to restore it. In Season 4 of the television collection, Marty slightly beats a typhoon flying home to his wife and younger daughter Noah to see her ballet recital. Also, Tom or daughter Key wants Tom and his spouse Nancy to come back to Florida and retire. In Idaho, Tom's brother, Jack, invitations him to go to his horse ranch. They drove off a mountain lion and went hunting. That season, Eustace turned into scene coming down with a cold. He dealt with himself with tea made from yellow root and sweated in his makeshift sweat-in. Later, he were given better and helped Preston deliver firewood to raise cash to pay off the tilt on his belongings. Whilst the display reached Season 5, Tom Moore placed his work on preserve even as trying to find iciness meat and protect himself from looming predators. After this, he brought in a former Turtle Island employee to select up the slack and protect Turtle Island's most valuable aid. Marty Myroto battles time and Mother Nature as he races to make his fur closing date. The display endured and stored on, gaining increasingly reputation. What do you think about Tom Moore's disappearance after looking this? What are your thoughts at the mountain? Which component got you interested the most? Depart your thoughts inside the remarks. If you enjoyed this video, like, share, and join this channel. Before you pass, watch the opposite videos displayed to your display.